Hi, my name is Donald Austin. I'm a director with ONE Pacific. We're a NetSuite solution provider based in Hong Kong, and we service clients in Asia and actually all around the world. I want to spend a few minutes today sharing a topic on NetSuite Outsourced Manufacturing, which is a relatively new feature. We see a great benefit for a lot of our clients in both the manufacturing space and also the sourcing space as they move into more manufacturing. So we're going to go through an overview and then a very quick demo, and then I'll do a bit of introduction on our organization towards the end. So we're going to talk about NetSuite Outsourced Manufacturing. So what's the value of this? Why do I want to do outsourced manufacturing if I'm either thinking about using NetSuite or I'm an existing NetSuite customer? Well, it adds value and provides actually a pretty high return on investment in a number of ways. First of all, it increases the automation, and so that reduces your manual overhead. It increases your visibility and control of your outsourced production, and it improves the accounting and reporting for outsourced production, especially when a lot of the manual steps and journal entries go away. What we see in the industry now, products are becoming more and more high quality, and customers need to deliver higher quality products to their clients. What this means is they often can no longer source from a single supplier. So manufacturing and sourcing organizations increasingly rely on third parties to complete some or all of the products. So this frees up organizations to do maybe what they do best, which might be in the product design space or some other area. So they can rely on an outside party. But it's often a multi-step process, and the company will own inventory during the process. So they may buy something and then they may ship it to an outsourced company to manage the production. So this is a new process NetSuite has put into the solution, and it allows companies to manage and improve the process. It's a combination of sourcing and manufacturing processes, and it can be started from either a purchase order or a work order, and we'll show both examples as we go through here. It's compatible with all the other NetSuite functions, including demand and supply planning, new planning engine, and the distribution network. So let's look at a sample. So we're gonna play with a bike assembly as our example. So you're the bike company, you own bike seats, you buy bike seats, and you buy tires. And then you have someone else do the assembly for you. So you have three main components. I have a seat for each bike, I have two wheels for each bike, and then I have an outsourcing charge, and my outsourcer provides some components and also does the production. So some of the key points: you actually own the inventory or raw materials, and you supply some of it during the process. The contract manufacturer provides you cost at an item level, so a single outsourcing charge per item in this example. There may be multiple contract manufacturers and steps, and there's some component inventory that you plan at the contract manufacturer level. So it's a very common example. So you can start from a purchase order. So in this case, we enter a purchase order, and then the work orders, so what needs to be done, are automatically created. So again, a nice level of automation. Most sourcing companies, if they're doing this process, would start from the purchase order step. Another option is start from a work order. So in this case, you create work orders for your assembly process, and then the work orders are automatically consolidated based on subsidiary and vendor, and we'll see how that setup works in a minute. The system will automatically consolidate work orders based on your subsidiary and vendor into a single purchase order. So in this example, the first two work orders are for the same vendor and the same subsidiary, so they're consolidated into a single purchase order. The third work order is for a different vendor, so they'll create a separate purchase order. So it's common sense, but again, it's all automated. So we'll just jump right into a demonstration. First, you need to enable the features. So you want to enable the new outsourced manufacturing feature in the setup part of NetSuite. And then you have to create some locations. So an outsourcing location to manage the process where the inventory and the finished goods will reside. You'll create a vendor to associate with the outsourced location. And you'll see there's a new tab for outsourced manufacturing. You'll create a manufacturing charge item for the outsourcing. So this is the cost you'll pay for the outsourcing process. and you'll need to select the cost category outsourcing. Outsourcing charge, does the system recognizes that the item is related to outsourcing. Bill of materials must be created. So for some sourcing companies, this is a bit new. They're not used to working with BOMs. Manufacturing companies certainly are. And you'll create a new revision. And then in that bill of materials, you see you'll use the bike production charge for the outsourcing. So the seat and the wheel we buy, the production charge is for the assembly component. And then the last step is we assign the new BOM to the final assembly, and then we set the outsourcing location. So these just a few setups, but now we have all the steps required for the process to work properly. So we're going to start with the purchase order process. So we'll create a purchase order, and we'll use a standard outsourced purchase order, and we'll select a vendor. In this case, it's Global Wheelers. So you'll see a new checkbox when the features are enabled called Create Work Order. And if this is checked and you save the purchase order, the system will automatically create a work order for the line. For the second line, in this example, you may not check the box yet because the quantity is not firm. So you have some flexibility here. Then, of course, you click Save. So you can see for the first line, a work order is created, and you can see the hyperlink, and you can click on that to see the actual work order that was created. So here we go. So here's the work order. And in the work order, you'll see a new tab called Outsourcing. The data in the Outsourcing tab can be somewhat helpful to do better analytics on your outsourced production, so you can search and run reports on this. For the second PO line, once you're ready, you confirm the order and decide to proceed, and then you just click Create the Work Order hyperlink to create the work order automatically. And then you'll see the work order created, and you'll see a link to the second work order. And then you're ready to click, once the production's done, to click Receive to start that process. Now you can choose to receive partially, so perhaps not all the materials ready at the same time, but you want to move on to the next step. So that's a nice feature, the partial receipt. And then when you save, the related assembly build is created. So this is where the materials are actually converted into finished goods that can be sold. So this handles the accounting process in the background as well. So there's the assembly build. You got your different components. They got the bike production charge. And then you receive into the outsourcing location. So basically the production was stocked into the outsourcing location, which may be at your vendor's site, factory site. You can also receive the remaining quantity in another location if you want to. A little more flexibility. But the resulting assembly build still shows US outsourcing location because you need to record the production in the location where the product is actually built, which makes sense. However, because the internal production location was set at the item receipt, the system will automatically create an inventory transfer transaction from the outsourced location to the internal production location. So again, another step, another automation step that's been built in. So there's another feature on the item receipt. So if you click on the purchase order, you can do a second item receipt to receive the second batch. And then you can receive 20 items. Now note there's something called an assembly build helper down at the bottom right, which we'll take a look at. So if you don't use the assembly build helper, the system will automatically create the assembly build transaction with the standard quantities that are in the bill of materials. However, though, it doesn't always work that way. So if you knew, for example, your supplier consumed 21 bike seats because they broke one, you can update the quantity in the assembly build helper. Upon click Save from the assembly build helper, you can see that the quantity field in the item receipt is no longer editable because the component quantity was adjusted. So it protects you from entering the wrong amounts. Now you can always go back to the assembly build helper and change the assembly quantity, for example, back to 30, and then readjust the component quantities again. And then upon saving, the item receipt will be updated for you. You save the item receipt and click on the corresponding assembly build number 3. This assembly build is for 30 bikes, but it consumes one more seat than was expected from the bill of materials. Note that this also works for lot and serial assemblies if you're using lot control or serial number control. All right, so the flow we just looked at was based on starting from a purchase order. We can also do it from a work order. Most sourcing clients we have would start from the purchase order, but more manufacturing oriented clients would probably start from the work order. So you create a work order, and based on the location, the system fills in the outsourcing vendor. In this case, it's Global Wheelers, because we've associated Global Wheelers with the location, US outsourcing location. You've outsourced the work order that you create in the system. Now there is an automated batch processing job. It runs once a day, and that's currently a hard limit. Or if you need the purchase order as soon as possible, you can create the purchase order manually. There's a link to create it at the bottom. Now, if you trigger it manually, the purchase order contains the relevant outsource details. You can see the assembly that was outsourced, the charge item, and all the relevant information for the outsourcing process. And then you can trigger the receipt from the purchase order or from the work order that you just created. If you trigger a receipt from the work order, just click Receive and Build. You can decide whether you want inventory to be transferred automatically by the system, or if you want to stock it in the outsourcing location and then transfer it manually yourself. This is the item receipt. And you can see the quantities are fully built. So we've got 20 bike seats and of course 40 bike wheels, and then the assembly. Now that's a quick review. So we looked at the outsourced manufacturing from the purchase order side, and then also from the work order side. It's actually quite easy to get the system set up for this. So a couple of prerequisites: you need to enable the outsourced manufacturing functions in the system settings. You need to set up the outsource locations. You need to associate your outsourcing vendors with an outsource location, create a manufacturing charge item, and select the cost category that's required. A bill of materials is required. Usually it's relatively straightforward. And then you need to assign the bill of materials to the final assembly item so the assembly process can take place. So next steps, if you're interested in learning more, just copy us or contact us for a copy of the presentation. We're happy to arrange a custom demonstration and a topic review if you want to go into more details or see the solution with more of your specific company or vendor information. That usually helps a lot more in the understanding. We're also happy to be of assistance with business case development. We believe that any new process that's implemented should have at least a basic business case so people understand the value and the return on the investment they'll be getting. So we have some templates to help with that. Quick introduction on ONE Pacific. So we are based in Hong Kong. We work around Asia, but as you can see from the map, we also support client operations all over the world. So for example, we have a number of US clients that manufacture or source in Asia. We work with other solutions as well. We work with UiPath on the robotic process automation, and Workato, which is a no-code integration tool. We do specialize in complex and global projects, and we're recognized to be a leader in this area by our partners and our clients. We do believe that system implementations must be accompanied by clear objectives. That's why we offer to help with the business case. Our team provide not only NetSuite advice, but also business advice and technical experience in relevant industries. And these always accompany our system implementations. Services profile, so full service NetSuite solution provider. We do implementation, training and mentoring, report development, KPI design, workflow, scripting. We do health checks if that's something you're interested in. And then we also provide daily support and troubleshooting. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you listening to this. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to contact us, and we're happy to do a more in-depth demonstration for you. Thank you.